Once the old man is gone, this house belongs to us. Those were the words my son heard his wife whisper while she held a copied key to the study where I kept his dead mother's final letter. Dad, Serena went through your house while you were at your physical. She took the spare key from the hook, pressed it into something, and put it back. I think she made a copy. I looked across my kitchen at the locked study door. Carol had been gone for 12 years, but everything she had built to protect our son remained behind it. The trust documents, the deed, the account records, and a sealed envelope in her handwriting that began, "My dearest Caleb, if your father gives you this, something has happened that love alone could not fix." Serena believed she had found a way into that room. What she did not know was that the key she copied had not opened the study in 8 months. And the moment she tried to use it, I would finally have the proof my son could no longer explain away. Please, before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you are listening from today. My name is Martin Hale. I kept my study locked because it contained the parts of Carol's life I was not ready to reduce to ordinary storage. From her first dinner in my home, she looked at doors the way other people looked at photographs. Her questions always sounded caring. 8 months earlier, after Serena suggested that Caleb and she should move into my house, before an emergency forced the decision, I called Carol's estate attorney. Then I replaced the study lock with a deadbolt, requiring a new key. I left the old key on the kitchen hook. It still turned the lower knob, but it could not move the deadbolt. Now someone had. "Did Serena know you saw her?" I asked Caleb. "I came home early and heard her on the phone." "Who was she speaking to?" "I don't know. But she said she found where you keep the estate papers." His voice cracked on the final words. "She asked me yesterday what happens to the house if you die," he continued. The pain was hearing my son discover that affection could imitate love long enough to enter a marriage. "Listen carefully," I said. "Do not confront her. Tomorrow morning, tell her you are going to work as usual. What are you going to do? Give her the opportunity she thinks she already created." Caleb went silent. "Dad, what is behind that door?" I looked at Carol's photograph beside the kitchen window. The truth was uglier. My silence had protected our peace, but it had left Serena free to construct her own version of our family's future. "Everything your mother wanted you to know when love and money became difficult to separate," I said. "And something I should have shown you before you married Serena." The silence on the line changed. "You knew?" he asked. I suspected. "That is not the same as knowing, and it was not enough to ask you to destroy your marriage. But it was enough to change the lock." "Yes." At 9:13 the next morning, the silent sensor inside the study door sent an alert to my phone. Someone had turned the old key in the lower lock. 3 seconds later, the deadbolt held. Then came a second alert, followed by a third. Serena was standing inside my house with a copied key that opened nothing, unaware that every attempt was being time-stamped. I did not call her. I called my attorney. "She tried the door," I said. "Good," she replied. "Now we find out what story she tells Caleb about why she was there." I watched the timestamps appear on my screen and felt no triumph. Behind that door was Carol's last act of protection. Outside it stood the woman my son had promised to trust for life. The copied key had failed, but the lie Serena invented next would tell us what she had truly come to steal. While I waited for Serena to explain why she had tried my study door 3 times, I thought about the first time she entered my house. Caleb came 20 minutes before her for Sunday dinner, carrying wine and wearing the helpless smile of a man who had already fallen in love. "She's different, Dad," he told me. "She listens. She makes me feel like I'm the most interesting person in the room." I wanted that for him. After Carol died, Caleb had become careful with happiness, as though enjoying anything too deeply might invite life to take it away. She arrived 40 minutes late and apologized with a laugh polished enough to sound spontaneous. Before Serena asked about my work or Carol, she studied the house. Her eyes moved from the original woodwork to the staircase, then toward the hallway leading to my study. "This place has wonderful bones," she said. Her questions were thoughtful enough to make the financial ones sound accidental. Did retirement require major lifestyle changes? Was maintaining an older property expensive? Had I considered selling while the neighborhood was appreciating? I heard measurements being taken. At Carol's portrait, she paused. She never asked what Carol had been like, what she had loved, or how Caleb had survived losing her. Instead, she glanced at the locked study door and asked, "Is that where you keep all your engineering plans?" "Some of them. It must contain half your life. The important half isn't on paper." She smiled, but the answer disappointed her. I saw it only for a second. While I made coffee, I returned from the pantry and found her alone near the hallway. Her hand was not on the study knob, but she stood close enough to read the small brass plate beneath it. Caleb said, "You keep the room locked," she said. "He said his mother used to work in there, sometimes. It's sweet that you preserved it." Her voice softened. "Although locked rooms can become unhealthy after grief. They keep people attached to things instead of relationships." It was a bold diagnosis from someone who had known me less than 2 hours. "Carol believed a lock was useful when something deserved protection," I replied. But by the time Caleb drove her home, she knew the house was paid for. I lived alone. The neighborhood was rising in value, and the locked room contained documents connected to my late wife. "Well, she's capable." He frowned. "That sounds like an employee review. Give yourself time to know her." His voice cooled. "You do this whenever someone gets close to me." "Do what?" "Look for the structural weakness." The phrase stung because it was partly true. "I'm asking you not to confuse being seen with being known." Caleb was silent. Then he said Serena had warned him I might react this way. She believed I feared being replaced now, that my only son was building a life that did not revolve around me. In one dinner, she had not only evaluated my house, she had prepared an explanation for anything suspicious I might notice. That was the first moment I felt fear. Not because Serena had asked about money, but because she had already taught Caleb how to dismiss my answer. Every concern placed her one step closer to my private decisions, while making resistance sound like evidence of decline. I questioned myself constantly. Was I protecting Caleb, or resenting the woman who now received his first phone call? Was Serena calculating, or was grief turning ordinary curiosity into threat? I wanted the kinder explanation. I wanted to be wrong badly enough that I remained polite, paid for dinners, and welcomed her every Sunday. But Serena never asked Caleb what he hoped to build with his own hands. She asked what would eventually be handed to him. And now, 2 years later, the timestamps on my phone showed that the woman who once called locked rooms unhealthy had returned to mine carrying a key she was never given. Serena avoided my estate for months. Then suggestions began not as demands, but as dreams she let Caleb repeat in his own voice. 3 months after their wedding, he came for dinner and said they wanted a house near me. Their budget was nearly twice his income. "Serena thinks we can manage if family helps." "How much?" $80,000. I set down my fork. "That isn't help with the down payment." "That is the down payment." He left angry. 2 days later, Serena apologized by text, claiming she never expected my money and only wanted us to feel like a family. Her perfect apology turned my refusal into the wound she had caused. Soon the house search vanished. Caleb proposed moving into my 3-bedroom home to save money and help if my health declined. Has it declined? No, but you're 67. That is an age, not a diagnosis. I refused, and he stopped calling. 9 days later, Serena arrived with a pie. Before leaving, she pointed at an old ceiling stain. "Let us arrange an inspection before the house loses value." I said the leak had been repaired years ago. She smiled. "I'm only protecting what Caleb will inherit." Then she corrected herself. "I mean, your home." That slip exposed every polite sentence before it. Over the next year, she proposed adding Caleb to my deed, consolidating my accounts, and assigning medical power of attorney. Whenever I refused, each idea returned through Caleb with gentler language. The words changed, the destination did not. I recorded every request. By the 7th, every road gave Serena access, authority, or residence. None began by asking what I wanted. 4 months before she copied the key, Caleb called and admitted Serena had sent a contractor past my property. "Only from the street," he said. She wanted an idea of what updates might help if we ever sell. Who is selling my house? Silence. Nobody. She's planning ahead. For whose future? He hung up. That evening, Serena emailed me a renovation proposal. The first page listed accessibility changes, supposedly meant to help me age safely. The second converted my study into a nursery. The third opened the kitchen and marked Carol's garden as potential garage expansion. My late wife's roses had become an empty rectangle in Serena's future. I printed every page and locked it inside the fireproof cabinet. The next morning, my attorney reviewed my deed, trust, and medical directives. On his advice, I added written safeguards that required independent verification before anyone could claim I lacked capacity. Then I replaced the study lock and installed the silent sensor. Caleb thought I was overreacting to an ambitious design. I understood what he could not. Serena was no longer wondering how she might fit into my life. She was designing the house after I was removed from it. The following Sunday, I tried once more. Every future Serena describes begins with something I own and ends with something she controls. Caleb stared at me. She's building a family. Then why does every plan require my money, my signature, or my house? His face hardened. You never gave her a chance. I gave her time. Time revealed the pattern. At the door, he said, maybe she worries because you refuse to discuss what happens when you die. Maybe I refuse because she discusses it more than I do. He left without answering. I watched his car disappear, knowing that protecting my son had begun to look in his eyes, like betraying him. Caleb returned alone. He put the pages on my table and accused me of humiliating Serena for helping. I pointed to Carol's garden. Your mother planted those roses after you survived pneumonia at 8. Did Serena ask what they meant before erasing them? His anger flickered. It's just a drawing. No, son, it's a rehearsal. In that drawing, my memories are obstacles. My study belongs to a child who does not exist, and I am nowhere. Caleb looked toward the door. What are you hiding in there? The question ached more than a demand for money. Serena had not taught him to want my property. She had taught him that my boundaries proved guilt. 4 months later, Serena copied the old study key. She believed it was the first decisive step in her plan. In truth, it was merely the first step she could no longer disguise as concern. The sensor recorded 3 failed attempts at 11:47 that night, each 6 seconds apart. Serena had not touched the study door by accident. She had inserted the copied key, adjusted it, and tried again. I nearly called Caleb, but evidence shown too early only teaches a liar what to hide. The next morning, I photographed the scratches around the keyhole and called my attorney, Evelyn Price. Do you know what she wants? Evelyn asked. The trust, perhaps. Carol's letter. Maybe both. Then give her a choice. We prepared a false family trust revision mentioning a fictional advisor and a non-existent box at Franklin Community Bank. I placed it in an unlocked desk drawer and waited for Serena to see me do it. At Sunday dinner, I carried the folder past Serena and mentioned simplifying my affairs. Her fork froze. Soon she offered to deliver groceries Tuesday while Caleb worked. I accepted. Her eagerness revealed the folder had caught her. Tuesday, I pretended to leave, then watched Serena enter with Caleb's emergency key. I had left the study open. Some foolish part of me hoped she would stop. 7 minutes later, she photographed every false page and wiped the drawer handle with her blouse. A hidden camera recorded it all. That evening, Caleb called. Why are you moving your money to Franklin Community Bank? The bait had traveled from my drawer to Serena and from Serena to my son in 4 hours. Who told you that? You did. No, I didn't. His voice dropped. Dad, we discussed it last week. Serena had not only stolen information, she had prepared my son to rewrite my memory. Where were we when I said it? I don't remember every detail. Yet you believe I forgot the entire conversation. Serena took the phone. Martin, no one is accusing you. Caleb says you've been repeating yourself. Put my son back on. This defensiveness is why he's frightened. Her voice disguised cruelty as concern. She ended the call. 10 minutes later, an email confirmed an appointment at a geriatric clinic that I had never requested. Serena had listed herself as family contact and reported confusion, paranoia, and reckless spending. A questionnaire completed in Caleb's name claimed I had forgotten Carol was dead and recently set a place for her at dinner. Carol's empty chair was something I honored, not misunderstood. Serena had turned the most private shape of my grief into a symptom. I sent it to Evelyn. Caleb signed it. But did he write it? I enlarged the questionnaire. The signature resembled his, but the words did not. Caleb never called his mother Caroline. The form used that name twice. It also mentioned the fictional Franklin account. Serena could know that detail only by entering my study. Her trespass and her lie now lived on the same page. Evelyn told me to let Serena believe. Her strategy was working. I hated the idea, because every hour of silence let her pull Caleb farther away. But confronting him before I could expose the entire trap would make me sound exactly as unstable as she claimed. The next afternoon, Caleb arrived with Serena and a gray-haired man named Dr. Wallace, who introduced himself as a family capacity consultant. He carried no medical bag. Serena carried a leather folder. My son would not meet my eyes. "Dad, we need to discuss whether you're safe making decisions alone." Serena placed 3 forms on my table: permission to review my accounts, temporary authority over medical choices, and consent for a private capacity assessment. "Temporary," she said softly. "Only until you feel like yourself again. And if I refuse?" Dr. Wallace folded his hands. "Resistance can be clinically significant." I looked at Caleb. "Did you read these?" Serena explained them. That was not my question. He glanced at her before answering. That single movement hurt more than the forged questionnaire. My son now searched his wife's face before deciding what he believed. I pushed the forms back. Serena's compassion vanished for half a breath. "Then we may need another path," she said. From her folder, she removed a petition bearing Caleb's signature. She had not come to evaluate my memory. She had come to begin taking my choices away. I did not touch the petition. "Tell me what you signed, Caleb," Serena answered first. "A request for an emergency evaluation." I asked my son. Caleb rubbed his palms against his trousers. "It lets a judge decide whether you need temporary help. Name one thing I have forgotten." His mouth opened, but Serena covered his hand. "Doctor." Wallace explained that suspicion, hostility, and refusal to cooperate often appeared before memory loss. It was a perfect circle. Agreement gave them control. Resistance became a symptom. "What medical license do you hold?" I asked. "My work focuses on family capacity." That was not my question. Serena leaned forward. "Why attack someone trying to help?" I called Evelyn on speaker. She had been waiting. "Mr. Wallace," she said, "please state your license number and disclose your financial relationship with Serena Cole." The room froze. Wallace stood. "This has become adversarial." "You arrived with a guardianship petition," Evelyn replied. "It began that way." He gathered his papers, but Serena stayed seated. Evelyn asked me to photograph the petition. When I reached for it, Serena pulled it away. Caleb noticed. "Why can't he read what I signed? His lawyer will twist it." Caleb removed her hand and passed it to me. His signature was genuine. The document above it was not. It requested a guardian with authority over my money, property, medical care, mail, and home. Serena was the proposed guardian. "Did you read this page?" I asked. "She showed me a clinic authorization." Evelyn directed him to the footer. The petition had been printed that morning. His signature page was 11 days old. Serena had attached his signature to a document he had never seen. Caleb looked at her as if the floor had moved. I wanted the truth to wake him. Instead, Serena cried. She claimed she changed the paperwork because Caleb refused to face my decline. Then she played a recording. "Carol, your tea is getting cold," my voice said. Caleb went pale. I remembered it. I had been watching old family videos in the study. On screen, Carol had called those words to me, and I repeated them before shutting the video off. Serena had removed everything that explained them. "When did you record that?" Caleb asked. "Last month." "You entered my study Tuesday," I said. "My camera recorded you." Her tears stopped. I explained the copied key, the bait folder, and the Franklin account that existed only in the pages she photographed. Caleb stepped away. You trapped my wife? I documented a crime. Serena sees the opening. He has cameras, secret files, imagined enemies. Healthy people don't live this way. The truth had reached Caleb, but she had reshaped it to resemble madness. Evelyn announced that the petition was fraudulent, and any filing would bring the video to court and law enforcement. Wallace left without another word. At the door, Serena asked Caleb, "Are you coming?" He remained by the table. For one hopeful second, I thought he had chosen to stay. Then his phone vibrated. He read the message, and his face emptied of color. "Dad, did you contact my employer?" No. His human resources director had received an anonymous report accusing him of exploiting an elderly parent. Attached were selected transfers from me to Caleb, including his wedding gift and the loan that covered his surgery. Every act of love had been recast as theft. Only you, I, and Serena had those records, I said. Serena shrugged. Or Evelyn. Caleb was barely listening. An investigation could cost the promotion he had pursued for 6 years. Serena had created a crisis large enough to bury her forged petition. "Withdraw what you said about me," she told him, "and I can explain the transfers before this ruins your career." "You sent the report?" I said I can fix it. It was not a denial. Caleb finally heard the confession hidden inside her offer, but fear arrived before courage. "What do you want?" he asked. Serena looked directly at me. "One family meeting tomorrow night. No lawyer, no cameras, and no locked doors." "Why?" "Because I have something that belongs to Carol, and if Martin refuses, Caleb will learn exactly what kind of father raised him." My son stared at me, searching my face for guilt she had planted before, revealing the accusation. Serena smiled faintly. She had failed to take my legal authority, so she had chosen something more fragile. My son's last faith in his mother and me. Now even my own son wanted me to attend. I knew the meeting was another trap. What I did not know was which memory she intended to turn into a weapon. The meeting took place in Caleb's dining room. Serena had removed the family photographs and placed 3 chairs beneath the light. It felt less like a conversation than a trial she controlled. Caleb sat across from me. Serena remained standing. "Tell him why his mother wrote this." She placed a yellowed sheet between us. I recognized Carol's handwriting. "If Martin ever uses Caleb's money again, I will take our son and leave." Caleb stared at me. "Is it real?" "Yes. Your father emptied your college account when you were 12, nearly $40,000. "How did you get that?" I asked. "From the drawer you protected." She had entered my study before the visit my camera recorded. "Did you take it?" Caleb demanded. I withdrew $38,400. His chair struck the wall as he stood. "You lectured me about money while hiding that? Sit down and hear why. Was Mom leaving you?" "For 3 days, yes." Serena slid a bank statement toward him. She had arranged the moment perfectly. Confession first, context last, anger between them. "At 12, you collapsed during baseball practice," I said. "Doctors found an infection around your heart. The treatment they recommended was experimental, and insurance refused it. The surgeon required a deposit by Monday. Your college fund was the only money I could access. Mom knew? Not until afterward. Deciding alone was wrong, but waiting could have killed you," Serena interrupted. Then he forced her to forgive him. "I removed a photocopy. You brought 1 page. I brought the next." Carol had written, "Martin was wrong, but the treatment worked. Caleb is sleeping upstairs with a heart that may carry him into old age. The college money has been restored from Martin's company sale. I will not call saving our child theft." Attached records showed every dollar, plus interest, returned years before college. "Why didn't you tell me?" Caleb asked. "Your mother and I agreed our worst argument should not become your burden," Serena laughed. "Convenient that another page appears tonight. The journal is with Evelyn. Its torn edge matches your page." Caleb faced her. "You said you found this loose in a box. Does that change what he did?" "You removed the explanation." "I showed you what he hid." "Half the truth," I said, "is a lie borrowing evidence." Her control cracked. She accused me of buying loyalty, and Caleb of becoming weak whenever I spoke calmly. Then she made one mistake. I spent 2 years preparing you to see him clearly. Caleb froze. 2 years? We met 18 months ago. Serena reached for him. He pulled away. How did you know about the journal before we married? She refused to answer. My phone vibrated at 8:57. Evelyn had found that Wallace's company belonged to Serena's uncle. His payments began 26 months earlier, 8 months before Serena said she met Caleb. I showed him. The dates matched events he had dismissed. A stranger approaching him at work, an anonymous financial seminar invitation, Serena appearing weeks later at a charity event. Their meeting had not been chance. He had been selected. How long did you know who my father was? Caleb whispered. Serena's face became still. Long enough to know what your family wastes. The woman he loved vanished inside that sentence. She admitted researching property records and believing Carol's trust was worth far more. Wallace had mapped the path. Marriage, reports of decline, emergency guardianship, then control of the house. The trust wasn't the prize, I said. The house was. The land, she corrected. A developer had offered millions for adjoining properties on my block. I had refused every approach. Serena intended to force a sale before the offer expired. Caleb stood. Get out. Serena lifted her purse quietly. At the door, she said, Before you choose him, check the garage. An electronic chirp sounded below us. She walked out. Caleb and I ran downstairs. Gasoline spread beneath his car. A red light blinked under the workbench beside an old space heater. I pulled Caleb back and called emergency services. He stared toward the open door, finally understanding that the woman he had defended had prepared an escape before arriving. The meeting had never been her final negotiation. It had been a distraction. Then his phone rang. Serena's name filled the screen, and a message appeared beneath it. Sign the sale agreement by midnight. Or next time, I won't leave a warning. Firefighters cut the power before entering. Gasoline ran from Caleb's car toward the heater, but the chirping device was only a bicycle light. Serena wanted us to expect an explosion. Fear, not fire, was the weapon. Detective Mara Ruiz read Serena's message. Do not reply. Did anyone see her pour the fuel? No, Caleb admitted. Ruiz noticed his hesitation. Tell me everything, including what makes you look bad. Caleb described the petition, the employer report, and the demand to sell. I gave her my camera footage and Evelyn's records. At 10:16, an officer found the gasoline can inside my truck. My fingerprints covered it. It belonged in my unlocked garden shed. Serena had planted the object that pointed back to me. My father didn't do this, Caleb said. Ruiz remained calm. You reported that he was confused and dangerous. My wife wrote that. Your signature is on it. Every lie Serena had made him repeat now weakened the truth he was telling. Ruiz did not arrest me, but she took my truck keys and told me not to leave town. By sunrise, Serena had obtained a temporary protective order. Her statement claimed I threatened to burn my house before letting Caleb inherit it. She attached a recording of me, saying, I would reduce this place to ashes first. The voice was mine, but the full sentence had been, if a developer expects me to erase Carol's garden, I would reduce this place to ashes first. Serena had cut away the truth. The order barred me from contacting her or entering Caleb's house. Evelyn arrived at dawn. We need the original audio. Caleb remembered Serena backed recordings up to their shared tablet, which was inside his downtown office. Police confirmed he could retrieve his own property. The full clip was there, along with a folder titled Closing. It contained maps of my block, guardianship drafts, and emails from North Star Urban Partners. One promised Serena a 6% fee if she delivered my parcel before month's end. Another told her to create family urgency without linking North Star to the pressure. A development executive named Grant Voss had financed Wallace and Serena's campaign. Caleb stared at the emails. She married me for a property line. She chose you as the path to it. His face collapsed. I helped her hurt you. You trusted your wife. Refusing the truth now would be the greater failure. We sent copies to Evelyn and Ruiz. The metadata was genuine, but the signed consulting agreement required a password. Caleb tried birthdays and addresses. Nothing worked. Then he remembered Serena's correction. Not the house, the land. He entered Carol's garden. The file opened. Serena's signature stood beside Grant Voss's, dated 9 months before the wedding. It promised her $186,000 if she secured control or forced a sale. Caleb began crying without sound. For the first time since Carol's funeral, I held my son while he did not pretend to be strong. Caleb recorded a statement admitting Serena had written the clinic report and misused his signature. He sent it to his employer with records proving every transfer was a gift or loan. "This may cost my promotion," he said. "Then lose the promotion, not your integrity." He pressed send. It was his first decision without checking Serena's face, and a first sign fear no longer owned him. Minutes later, someone erased the closing folder. Evelyn's copy survived, but Serena now knew we had opened it. Ruiz asked us to bring the tablet to the station. We drove there together, believing the evidence had outrun Serena's lies. 2 officers met us in the lobby. Ruiz stood behind them. "Martin Hale, you are under arrest for attempted arson and witness intimidation." Caleb raised the tablet. "This proves Serena planned everything." Ruiz looked but did not take it. "The fire lab found an ignition device with your DNA." "There was no ignition device. There is now." As the handcuffs closed, I saw Serena across the street inside a black car. Grant Voss sat beside her. She had not fled the investigation. She had stayed close enough to rewrite the evidence while we gathered ours. Then Caleb did the one thing she had never expected. He unlocked the tablet, started a live transmission to Evelyn, and shouted the car's license plate before an officer could take it. Serena saw him through the station window. Her smile vanished, and the black car accelerated into traffic. The black car vanished, but Caleb's transmission continued. Evelyn received the files, license plate, and his question. Why was no ignition device listed in the firefighter's first report? Ruiz looked sharply at him. The arrest affidavit contained a supplemental entry made at 7:42 that morning. The alleged igniter had been recovered 6 hours after firefighters released the garage. Its tag bore the initials of Nolan Pierce, a private investigator employed by a North Star subsidiary. Grant Voss had placed his own man inside the evidence chain. Ruiz could not release me immediately, but she stopped my transport. Evelyn arrived with the original scene photographs. They showed bare concrete beside the heater. Pierce had planted the device after police left. Ruiz began seeking warrants for Pierce, Serena, and Voss. Then the station received an alarm from my address. The study sensor had activated. "They're in your house," Caleb said. Serena and Voss had returned to destroy Carol's journal and any record a court could authenticate. Patrol units were delayed by a collision across town. "Use the gate behind the church," I told Ruiz. She ordered Caleb to remain at the station. He obeyed until I was led into an interview room, then took my spare keys and slipped out. Ruiz tracked his phone toward my street. "He's going inside." Fear struck harder than the cuffs. Caleb answered her call in a whisper. He had entered Carol's garden and saw light in the study. "Leave now," I ordered. "I left you alone once," he said. "I won't do it again. Courage is not walking into danger." "Then tell me how to help." Beneath the back steps was an emergency irrigation switch that activated the sprinklers, floodlights, and security cameras. "Turn the red handle and stay outside." Glass broke as he reached it. When he pulled the handle, lights ignited and water swept across the garden. My cameras uploaded directly to Evelyn. Serena and Voss appeared at the broken study window. Voss carried my fireproof cabinet. Serena held a folder and portable scanner. Their faces were recorded from 3 angles. "Police are coming," Caleb shouted from behind the stone wall. Serena stepped into the garden. "Your father will spend his life paying lawyers while you lose your job and marriage. My marriage ended when you forged my name. Ask him why the trust skips you." Caleb hesitated. Voss dropped the cabinet, crossed the wet path, and seized his coat. I heard the struggle through Ruiz's phone and pulled against the cuffs until my wrists bled. Caleb struck Voss, but Voss drove him into the wall. Serena lifted a brick behind my son. A sprinkler swept across her face. She slipped, and the brick smashed through her scanner. Caleb twisted free, and opened the irrigation line fully. Water tore the stolen folder from Serena's hands, scattering pages across Carol's roses. Voss ran through the rear gate and collided with the first patrol officer. Serena turned toward the house, but Caleb blocked her. "Move." "No. You still don't know what he kept from you. Maybe not. But I know what you did to us." Sirens filled the street. Serena saw Voss face down in mud and cameras covering every exit. For once, she had no story prepared. She reached into her purse. Caleb stepped back. Instead of a weapon, she produced the copied study key. All this because he refused to share. "No," Caleb said, "because you refused to hear no." She threw the key into the roses and surrendered. Police recovered the cabinet, torn journal page, forged petition drafts, and a flash drive documenting payments to Wallace and Pierce. They also found a sale agreement carrying a digital imitation of my signature. Only notarization remained. At 11:38, Ruiz removed my cuffs. "You're free to go." My son? Bruised, not broken. Caleb sat on the ambulance step with blood on his lip and soil across his clothes. He tried to apologize. I held him before the words came. Ruiz asked why Caleb disobeyed her. "Each time I obeyed the wrong person, my father paid for it." She warned him that courage without judgment could become another form of harm. He lowered his head and accepted that too. Officers led Serena past Carol's flooded roses. She looked at Caleb, waiting for proof she still controlled some part of him. He did not look back. Ruiz opened the flash drive and found another folder bearing my name. Inside was a contingency scheduled for midnight. If Serena failed to secure the sale, Pierce was to set a real fire inside my house with me asleep upstairs. The gasoline in Caleb's garage had been only a rehearsal. Serena had surrendered because she knew the deadline was near, not because the danger had ended. Ruiz radioed every unit to find Pierce. At that moment, the lights in my upstairs bedroom went out. The darkness upstairs lasted 2 seconds. Then orange light appeared behind the curtains. Pierce was inside. Ruiz ordered us back, as officers rushed the door. Smoke curled from my bedroom, but Caleb ran toward Carol's garden. The coal passage. When he was a boy, I had shown him a tunnel connecting the basement to a shed beyond the fence. Pierce could escape without crossing the cameras. Ruiz sent officers around the block. Caleb reached the shed and heard metal scraping beneath its hatch. He did not enter. This time, he listened. He dragged a stone planter across the hatch and stepped away. Pierce struck it from below. Police surrounded the shed as he broke through a side panel carrying a backpack. Inside were an igniter, gloves, and a phone receiving instructions from Voss. Firefighters stopped the flames before they reached the hallway. My bed burned. Carol's photograph did not. I found it beneath the window, its glass cracked, but her smile untouched. Pierce had poured accelerant where I slept. If Serena's first trap had worked, I would have returned home just in time to die. Pierce was arrested at 12:07. Voss was captured 3 miles away. The land offer expired without my signature. By sunrise, the house smelled of smoke. Caleb stood in the ruined bedroom. I brought her into our family. She entered through trust. Trust is not a crime. I ignored you. You also came back. That doesn't erase what I did. No. It gives you a place to begin repairing it. The legal process lasted 11 months. Serena pleaded guilty to conspiracy, forgery, exploitation, burglary, and evidence tampering. The planned fire lengthened her sentence. Voss faced conspiracy and attempted arson charges. Pierce accepted a plea and revealed that Northstar had targeted other older homeowners. Wallace was charged for the fraudulent petition. The company paid restitution to 6 families whose homes had been taken through similar schemes. My arrest was sealed. Caleb's employer cleared him, though he lost his promotion. I protected appearances too long, he said. Maybe losing one will teach me what matters. He filed for divorce and declined every call Serena made from jail. That was not cruelty. It was a boundary drawn before forgiveness could become permission. At sentencing, Serena looked at Caleb once. He met her eyes without anger, and that refusal wounded her more than hatred could have. Repairing us was slower. Caleb rented an apartment, began therapy, and never asked for my accounts or keys. Each Sunday, he helped restore Carol's garden. We spoke while replacing roses damaged by boots and floodwater. Trust did not return in one embrace. It returned through ordinary promises kept repeatedly. One afternoon, we opened the recovered fireproof cabinet. The trust, journal, and Carol's letters survived. Beneath them lay an envelope I had never seen. "Caleb, when you are ready to know your father," she had written. "Did you put this here?" he asked. No. Its seal was intact. Evelyn confirmed the paper and handwriting. Caleb held it without opening it. What if it changes everything? Then we read all of it. Not one sentence. The whole truth. He sat in Carol's chair as evening crossed the repaired garden. I stayed close enough to remain, far enough to let the choice be his. Finally, he broke the seal. The first line made him cover his mouth. Then he handed the letter to me. Carol had begun with 6 words neither of us expected. "Martin is not the man you think." The sentence continued beneath Caleb's thumb. "Martin is not the man you think. He is softer than he allows anyone to see, and more afraid of failing you than he will confess," Carol wrote during her final week. She described me sleeping beside Caleb after surgery and selling my company share to restore his college fund. I hid it because sacrifice presented as evidence becomes a debt. I never wanted Caleb to believe he owed me his life. Carol understood, but named the harm. "Your father believes silent love is pure." Sometimes it is. Sometimes silence leaves a room that a dishonest person will fill with their own story. Caleb stopped. She knew. Your mother usually did. The letter also explained the trust. Carol had not disinherited him. She separated the house from his inheritance because the land was to become a non-profit respite home for people caring for aging spouses. Caleb would inherit investments, but nobody could sell Carol's garden. Serena had shown him the clause removing the house and hidden the pages explaining it. She said, "You didn't trust me. I trusted you enough not to make you carry our promise. You should have told me." Yes, I did not defend my silence. Love can be sincere and still choose the wrong method. Carol asked Caleb never to confuse forgiveness with restored access. Someone could be forgiven and still remain outside the door they broke. She also warned me not to use wisdom as armor or caution to control our son. The letter allowed neither of us to be entirely right. That was how I knew it was hers. Caleb's voice failed at the final paragraph, so I read, "If you are sitting together, pain has done enough. Do not make it perform the work honesty should have done years ago." After a long silence, Caleb asked, "Can you forgive me? I love you already." Forgiveness is growing inside that love. Trust will take longer. I'll earn it without asking when I'm finished. We stored the letter beside Carol's journal and read every page Serena tried to weaponize. None destroyed us. Whole truth is not a blade. North Star's victims received settlements, and guardianship reviews grew stronger. Evelyn helped establish Carol House before my death. I donated the land, but kept the right to live in the East Wing. The main rooms became a free refuge for caregivers. My study remained mine, though I stopped locking it when Caleb visited. Our first guest was a 74-year-old man caring for his wife with Parkinson's. He slept 10 hours his first night. Watching him eat breakfast in our kitchen, I understood Carol had protected more than land. Caleb did not become rich from the house. He became useful because of it. He volunteered, repaired railings, and drove guests to appointments. A year after the trial, his employer offered the promotion he had lost. He declined and joined a nonprofit investigating financial exploitation of older adults. "Serena chose me because I was useful to her plan," he said. "I want to be useful for a better reason." We never celebrated her punishment. Consequences were necessary. Cruelty was not. Caleb never visited her. Forgiveness did not require reunion, and peace did not require pretending the harm never happened. On the 3rd anniversary of the fire, we planted a rose where Serena threw the copied key. "Do you still have it?" Caleb asked. Ruiz returned it. "What did you do with it?" "Melted it." I pointed to a brass plaque on the gate. "Love opens this home. Truth protects it." He smiled. I once believed protecting my son meant standing between him and every consequence. Now I know a father sometimes must step aside and let truth reach the child he still sees inside a grown man. When that truth breaks him open, A father can remain nearby not to erase pain or surrender boundaries, but to show him where rebuilding begins. Serena tried to inherit a house by teaching my son to doubt me. Instead, she left us something she never intended: the courage to stop loving each other in silence.